Looking at the England team, it's less familiar. Do you think there are different approaches to this game?
Yeah, for us, there are a number of things. Trying to build on the continuity that we've created, the run of form that we've created. So, from a confidence point of view, we're trying to stress that and combinations. It's quite good with these first two games that we play on Sunday. Then the 6-day turnaround to the following Saturday, which sort of replicates what happens for us in the first two games of the World Cup. We play Georgia and then a 6-day turnaround to Australia. So that's good for us in terms of that preparation. This is our first game of 3 before we name our World Cup squad. England obviously in a different situation scenario where they're naming their World Cup squad on Monday, so they're obviously looking at, I presume that Eddie knows a large contingent of players that he wants for his squad, and this is an opportunity for the others to stake a claim on Sunday.
It's a landmark game for Alun Wyn Jones. Just sum up the value of all that experience as you head towards Japan.
Yeah, I think obviously in the last, for me, probably the last 12 months as captain side, has done an outstanding job. Of an experienced player. He's a player that led incredibly well by example and attitude in the Six Nations. I think player of the Six Nations recognised, obviously, and recognised worldwide as one of the top players in his position as well, and he thoroughly deserves that. I think the bigger the occasion, the bigger the challenge, it's when he tends to thrive. So, look, he's comfortable in the position he's in the moment. And he deserves the accolades that are thrown his way. What I like about him at the moment is just his calmness, the respect that he has from the other players, and his ability to allow the other senior players in the squad to lead and express themselves and have a voice as well. So the squad's in a really good position at the moment, healthy, and there's a lot of confidence in the squad too.
Hi Warren, you mentioned the 6-day turnaround and looking to replicate that for the World Cup.
Yeah.
How do you anticipate using these 4 games in terms of how similar these teams will be to those block of games in the pool stages of the World Cup?
Yeah, I think we've had a plan for the last 2 years. I don't think we've deviated from that plan in terms of the way that we've communicated what we wanted to do. So, look, there's a good chance that we may back up a lot of those players next week as well, and then give some players an opportunity in that game against Ireland before we announce the squad. We told the squad last Wednesday, so these guys have had 9 days together knowing what the team was, which has been good for their preparation and particularly the amount of work that we've done, and just giving them that early heads up in terms of what the team was going to be playing against England as well. So that's been a positive for those guys, and we've tried to be extremely transparent right from the start in terms of telling the players exactly what our thoughts are from a coaching perspective in terms of these games, what our plan was, what the numbers and the breakdown of the 30-man squad was potentially going to look like. So that there was no surprises for the squad, and that's been pretty positive in terms of how the team have responded to that.
Given that you mentioned no surprises in that the makeup of that squad, how much closer are you to deciding on that final squad, and how much of a bearing will these next 4 matches have?
It will have a huge bearing, I think. If you gave a piece of paper to everyone in this room and you gave it to the whole squad, they could probably pick 23 or 24 players that they would think had a good chance of making it. So, and that's completely understandable from where we are at the moment, and players that have delivered for us in the last 18 months. But there's those fringe players that have come back from injury, players who haven't had a lot of rugby that are going to get an opportunity through training over the next few weeks, and against that. Probably the home game against Ireland, they'll get that chance. So, we're in a different situation to England. Obviously, they named their squad on Monday. We've been pretty settled. And sometimes it's not always about, like I said, we're trying to get the balance right from a coaching perspective, a coaching team, that building on the confidence that we've created. And it's not always about trying new combinations, not about breaking up that success. It's about continuing to build the momentum that we've created. And so that's been a big part of our mindset. If we'd performed badly in the Six Nations, then we would probably be on a different path at the moment. But we're trying to continue to build on that confidence. These players, I think, have demonstrated their ability to show some, in the last couple of campaigns, some great game management. They haven't panicked. They've been able to come from behind. They've been able to keep their composure, and that's, to me, a sign of a really good team. We haven't forced things, and we've been able to grind out wins and win a couple of games ugly as well. So, and we're going to have to do that, definitely over the next couple of months at some stage.
How much of a blow, Warren, was Toby Faletau's injury, and were you tempted to be a bit more protective about Ross Moriarty and what you're exposing to over?
Look, it was disappointing for him. He still had some work to do. He was catching up, but the fact that he hadn't been with us for a while, there was still some work to do from a conditioning perspective. But he had made some good progress. So look, for his point of view, it was disappointing. So you get a player who had hardly ever been injured in Wales and had never missed a training session, and he leaves Wales and he hasn't played for the last couple of years. So look, you got a feel for Toby. He showed a couple of signs of his real class at training, even though from a conditioning perspective he needed some work. We may pick up a few more injuries. There's a good chance that Thomas Williams may not be on the bench on Sunday. He picked up a little bit of a shoulder knock at training today. I don't know the extent of that, but that would probably rule him out for Sunday, which means that Alun would come on the bench. We'd originally selected Corey Hill in the second row. He's got a little bit of not a stress fracture, but a little in his ankle, just a little bit tight. It wasn't worth taking that risk. So if we feel that we need to protect some players, we'll do that. Our initial thoughts on the loose forwards, from the 7 that we've got, we were probably going to pick 5. It's an unfortunate thing for Toby being injured, but it means that we don't have to make a really tough call on potentially who's going to miss out, given the quality of the loose forwards that we have. And fingers crossed that we don't pick up too many more injuries going forward. We're bound to get 1 or 2 more, but hopefully not too many.
Did you lose any sleep over that? You think back to Reece Webb and Lee Halfpenny 4 years ago? No,
I don't think. I try not to think backwards too much. I can't change the past. I don't dwell on the past, and it's always thinking about the future. We all, in hindsight, we would make different decisions sometimes, and it's trying to learn from those experiences, but not to dwell too much on that.
Just on the fitness front as well, Warren, the likes of Aaron Shingler, Josh Navidi, who've been coming back from injury, how are they doing?
Aaron's been good. He's been full training for the last few weeks. Josh had been troubled by a hamstring, so he's only just, basically today was his first time back into full training. We've been looking after James Davis, who's had issues with the back. But apart from that, we've got a pretty healthy squad at the moment. A few niggles, but most of those players that came in the last 6 weeks are pretty much up and running. Apart from Samson Lee's had a hamstring issue, so why hasn't been involved. Rob Evans' shoulder and a neck irritation as well, so hopefully they'll come into consideration over the next couple of weeks. So we're just, we're trying to be smart about players that we expose, but also trying to manage some other players too.
Should we leave the light part there, please, and next few minutes in Bowden?
What have you made of England bringing players in and out of training squads, and Eddie's decision to name the squad very early?
Yeah, I mean, he must be very clear in his own mind what he thinks the squad's going to be. and players get an opportunity on Sunday to put their hands up, and and then from that perspective, sometimes it's a positive. You name a squad early, and the players know they've got clarity, and you can work with that squad over a period. I'm sure that they'll have more than the 31 in training. I think they've got the ability to bring others in as a wider training group of players, that if they do pick up injuries, they can add players to the squad either before they go to Japan or during the tournament as well. So look, I haven't made too much of that. They've got their own approach. We've just been focused solely on what we've been trying to do as a team, trying to deliver positive messages and have clarity. And I think we've done that and been pretty positive about that.
Warren, has there been any talk between you and Eddie about your approach to selecting for these two games?
No, there hasn't been any chat about that. I've spoken to Joe Smith about the two games that we play against each other, so we're kind of on the same page about what we're going to do with the Irish games. Coaches are catching up with Eddie tonight, having dinner with Eddie, so I'm sure there'll be a little bit of banter and a bit of chat tonight. But we haven't spoken about the games. It'll be interesting to see how the chat goes over dinner.
A couple of intriguing selections for them, and some debutants as well. Rory McConaughey, the Sevens guys, played class, and then Willie Hines, who's gone straight in as vice captain on his debut. That's Cromwell. What do you make of those?
Yeah, two. I got two vice captains there. I think Sam Underhill's the other one. Looking at that, we didn't prep at all for England this week. We just thought we'd wait to see what the team would be, and we were concentrating on ourselves. They've picked obviously a pretty quick back line, not a huge amount of size. Looking at their line-outs with the two sevens, 6 and a 7 there with Vunipola, don't probably look as though they've got, and with Launchbury and Yules, they probably don't have, traditionally they would have probably a stronger set-piece line-out than that, so I expect them to work on a lot of short line-outs, 5-mans and 4-mans, and they will probably try to exploit us with the two sevens competing a lot harder on the ball and trying to use their pace out in the back line in terms of an attacking style of game. So that should be pretty exciting. I think the last time we played them in the Six Nations, our discipline was outstanding. We limited them to a small number of lineouts, so that negated the platform to start from set piece. So they probably looked at that from that point of view, and so they haven't gone in with a fully loaded from a set piece point of view against us, because if you only have 4 or 5 lineouts in a game, and then there's not much point spending 2 or 3 hours of the week practicing for them if you aren't going to get any. So it'll be interesting from their point of view and the approach, and to see the style of game that they try to impose on us on Sunday. We're looking at, and we need to impose ourselves and to bring some physicality definitely to that, to ask some questions of them physically, given that they're not the biggest back line in the world and probably not the biggest forward pack either.
And what about Hines, 32 years old, debut, obviously New Zealand born, isn't he?
Yeah.
Never played a test match before. Is that a gamble to pick him from the start?
Look, I don't know. He's obviously done pretty well for Gloucester. Luke would know more about him than I would, being a big Gloucester supporter. He's come from a successful environment back in New Zealand when he was playing for the Crusaders. He's got some experience and some obviously some leadership qualities that Eddie's seen in him to make him vice captain. So, that experience, I think will definitely count for something. And then with George Ford being captain and what he brings to the side as well. So I'm really looking forward to Sunday. Excited about that, and excited about the pressure on our players sort of playing a pretty unfamiliar England side, and the expectation that'll be put on them externally, and us embracing that and going in there with the confidence that we can go out there and hopefully spoil their party and make things difficult for them on Monday in terms of selection.
Warren, you've got a pretty good record at Twickenham, obviously, your last game. How much are you looking forward to that? And is results maybe don't matter, but it's just an opportunity to lay down?
Yeah, I haven't, it's probably more important to me going there when you're playing in Six Nations games or World Cup games. The warm-up games probably don't have the same emphasis, but you can't hide away from the fact it's an England-Wales game, and people get pretty emotional and pretty excited about that, and that's great. And for us, like I said, we're focused on ourselves this week and hopefully building on that momentum we're creating and keeping the confidence that's been built in the squad.
One final question, please.
There's been a bit of criticism over the 4 games as a warm-up, given the injuries that you sustained 4 years ago. What have you made of that criticism, and how important is it to have 4 as opposed to?
Yeah, it's fair. Criticism's fair. It's you can't get it right all the time. You're trying to negotiate warm-up games with sides, and you're trying to get the balance right. 4 years ago, we were supposed to play England home and away, and they got called off because we ended up in the same pool. I think the England games are always a good contest for us. You may have wanted 3 or potentially a not quite so strong opposition, but you go into negotiations about. So you just sometimes got to accept what's been delivered. And for us, I think the fact that we're in such a good place, sort of mentally, and the depth that we've created within the squad and the competition, I think we can go in there with, hopefully some confidence and maybe not pick up too many injuries. And so, I understand exactly where you're coming from, and I understand the criticism well, and that's warranted. It's a little bit of a concern that you don't pick up too many injuries, but sometimes you just got to roll the dice and go with it, and we'll see how this weekend goes, and obviously the next couple of weeks in training. Hopefully we don't pick up too many injuries, and then we've got to assess, are there players within the squad that we need to make sure are on the plane to Japan and are fit for those first, particularly those first couple of games.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yes.